Hello, welcome everyone to a mailbag.
A mailbag.
I love the mailbag. Although every time we do this, it makes me never want to say anything ever again. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you get called out a lot. Well, so do I.
Oh, you get ready for this week.
Afterwards, I'm like, I need to just stop having thoughts and opinions and ideas because
let me tell you
they're wrong,
something,
or they annoy someone, or they upset someone.
Don't think like that. Because nobody else lives their life like that, do they? Like,
True,
your average
true.
non-podcasting listener out there, how often do the things that you think and chat about with your mates get listened to by the 24 people that listen to this podcast? So all of them seem to write in every week telling us we're all wrong. Let's try. I'd like to flip that around. I'd like to flip that around. I want someone to record their conversation, and get a bunch of people to listen to it, and we'll fucking critique the shit out of that.
Oh my god, that's a great idea.
This is what I always say to people who say that I suck at gaming. I always say, you know what? Record yourself playing a game. And let me watch it and critique it, and let's see how that goes.
That's been my favorite part of streaming Dota. The in-houses that we do. My favorite part is these lads that sit there and chat, Lamau, lol, ha ha ha, you're so terrible. Then you watch them play, and they're fucking abysmal. And they're like, well, I didn't say I was any good. I'm just shit.
No, I'm certainly going to I'm certainly going to comment and critique. The best one I find is when they're like, oh my god, you're such an idiot, do this, and you're like, well, you can actually do that? Oh, I don't know, I've never played this game before. It's like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, those are the worst ones.
Do you know what?
I can always rely on you guys to make me feel better.
Don't you worry, dude. I get backseated a lot when I'm playing games, especially Tarkov, because everyone thinks they know how to play Tarkov, and apparently
nobody knows how to play Tarkov. If you're watching somebody play Tarkov, it's because you're too scared to play Tarkov yourself.
Exactly right. So I was playing the other day.
I am too scared. Yeah.
I got backseated in game by a stranger.
Right.
So I'm in game. I'm hiding on top of a little shack with a SKS, waiting to see if I spot a player. And this other scav runs past. He goes, "Dude, you really think you're gonna hit someone with that scav gun? The durability on it is so low. Your MOA is gonna be huge." I was like, I'm just having fun, dude. It's like, well, good luck. And everyone's like, shoot him! Shoot him!
Yeah, you should have just shot him, honestly.
But it's just like, you can't get away from people fucking telling you what you should be thinking or doing. Shut the fuck up!
Yeah, it's
all right,
crazy.
First email, you lads ready?
So with that said, thanks for sending us these messages.
Thank you. Honestly, most of these this week are fantastic. Like, some really good emails. I pick out the ones where people are being particularly sassy because I think it's funnier.
By
the way,
it is
can
funny,
I just say, I occasionally get people tweet me a picture of where they're listening to the Triforce podcast, and it always cheers me up.
Always.
Every time.
I love that one.
Every time someone says it. Like, even if it's just like a filing cabinet or like, you know, like a drab, windy, rainy morning. Like, we did this ages and ages ago. We just said, please tweet us pictures of you
so long ago.
To the podcast.
Yeah, people still do it all the time. It's great.
I love seeing them.
My favorite is when they say, might be a little late on this, but you said to send in pictures of where we listen. I'm like, that must have been like 3 or 4 years ago we said that. It feels like a long time. It's never too late.
Yeah.
Never
please
too late.
Keep doing it.
Yeah. All right. Hey guys,
I love it.
Jackie here. Smiley face.
Hi, Jackie.
I'm writing in, not just for me, but for my 7 other gaping vagina havers in the room with me right now.
Right.
Whoa.
We're all long-time Yogg and Triforce fans. I showed them the first episode of this podcast, and we basically talked about it every week since. Seeing as we've all recently had a chance to get together for the first time since COVID, I believe we're hosting what could potentially be your personal hell of a podcast listening party for the newest episode.
Right.
Although we may be 8 women in a hotel room, we are also in the process of donning several $1,000s worth of brightly coloured animal-themed outfits at a particular kind of convention, smiley winking face.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, that's fair enough.
Oh, no.
Yes.
What is that laugh?
I feel like if they listen to the wrong podcast, they might just like be like horrified, though. You know, because sometimes we express some anti-furry sentiment.
Yes,
and we don't mean it.
Despite your frequent assaults on our lifestyle over the many years.
Oh, there we go.
That this glorious show has gone on for, we've decided that our weekly dose of dad ranting, bullshit philosophy, and 80s media recommendations are too important to miss.
Yes.
We've had a good laugh thinking about the sheer look of horror on your face should you somehow open the door, and hear the, of course, perfect podcast being listened to in such a godforsaken way. And, of course, take your comments about us in jest. For real, so thank you to the three of you. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy, because like now all I can imagine, I'm imagining 8 women in a hotel room dressed up in chipmunk costumes, like making chipmunk noises and stuff, like whilst listening to this podcast, you know, like imagine bursting in on Santa's workshop, like, and all the elves are like busily like working away or whatever. I just imagine that, but it's a bunch of women dressed up as animals and listening to a podcast instead. So thanks for that. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah.
This reminds me of something that happened over Jingle Jam. So we worked with the Wallace and Gromit Grand Appeal. It was one of the charities.
Oh, yeah.
And we invited all the charities to come down to Bristol and meet us and, you know, say hi and sort of get the idea. Because some of them were not really familiar with what we were doing.
Right.
But the local Grand Appeal, because they're local, they're in Bristol, they're building a very cool Jingle Jam building house thing. Anyway, they're great, but they brought with them their Wallace and Gromit costumes, which are just, and then they sort of had to kind of draw. There were about 4 or 5 women, and I think there was a guy, and they had to sort of draw straws amongst them to which one would have to go into these horrible sweaty costumes.
Oh,
God,
man!
You know, it's just because they I think they've all variously done time in the costumes. Now, they were super upbeat and excited, and like they had such, I don't know, I think if you work for a charity, you have to be a very nice kind of person. I think I don't know. I guess you don't stick around very long, because I'm sure the charities don't pay as much as they should do, or whatever. And I'm sure it must be a bit of a stressful job, but
it's a labor of love, I think. Yeah.
To make it feel like I'm being paid a salary to work for a charity, but also I do have to try and at least make my money back. You know, I need to put this work in, right? You know, you feel like you have to be, you know, I guess it's more.
I mean, the thing is, I think it must also be very rewarding, because if you're working for a big company, you're essentially working to make the people that are extremely rich already slightly richer. Like, that's essentially your job, is to pay your salary and make very wealthy people slightly richer. If you're working for a charity and your job is to make people who are really struggling slightly better off, surely that's much more rewarding.
You'd hope so.
And should be the goal of humanity, really, to do that rather than anything else, I think.
I think there must be a little bit of pressure, though, to be, I don't know, to be efficient, to be effective, to be like,
of course,
to feel like you're not. Anyway, yeah. I mean, if you're working for a faceless corporation, you can just browse Reddit all day.
True.
Anyway, these charity people were super lovely, like super energetic, like so excited and nice, and kind of like almost like we're a bit like jaded and tired and boring, and like, you know, whereas they were just like, what you're doing is amazing. And it was like this real shot of adrenaline that we needed right before.
They're also, a lot of them are on drugs. Like charity workers, famously big, heavy drug users.
I don't know if actually that would explain how high energy they were.
Yeah, fucking Ket, mate, is the opposite.
Cocaine.
Right? Ket is what your average office worker's taking.
Gets them in those suits.
They're hitting, they're hitting glass hard. They're on the good stuff, the meth.
But the Wallace and Gromit costumes, I assume they have to do events and stuff and things, But it's even like the more senior members of the team. Not that they're that old, but you know what I mean, the ones who'd already been working for the charity for 10 years still had to do their time in the costumes.
Oh, you got to do your time.
It wasn't like they could just get the young new blood to suffer in there.
Right.
It was so funny because these costumes are great. Anyway, carry on.
This is from Ro. I'd love to hear your lad's opinion on this, because it takes a turn that I was not expecting. All right.
Right.
Dear Pier and Sips and Lewis, I'm Ro, big fan, tiny penis, moving swiftly on. I've had the pleasure of listening to your podcast while serving in the British Army. I'm part of the REME, the Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers, as an armourer, repairing and maintaining all weapons held by the Army. So far, a highlight has been taking part in public duties in 2021. Whilst on public duties, we supported the Queen's Guard by standing guard on post at all 4 royal locations in London. However, we have a slightly different uniform and no bearskin, which is that big hat.
Right.
So this is where it takes a turn. We had a 4-palace challenge wherein you would wank at each royal location.
Oh my god!
This cannot be.
I have no idea if this is a tradition/goal for the other cap badges that come under the King's Guard, or if it's an odd goal of the REME, known for their heavy drinking and lewdness. I'm back on public duties at the moment. If you'd like free entry to the Tower of London, I can get you in for free as I'm on duty here guarding the crown jewels.
Holy crap. Yeah, I mean, Jesus. Yes, please. First and foremost, I would love free entry into the Tower of London, but I mean, I had my suspicions that people were jacking off everywhere all the time, but
I'm not going to shake your hand if I ever meet you, Ro. All right,
no.
That's just because you might be on part 4 of the challenge, and
yeah, he might be at the end of the gauntlet there.
Exactly.
I'd shake his hand.
Yeah, but you don't know what his hand has just been doing, Lewis. That's my point.
Yeah, but he's an engineer. He's probably got grease on his hand anyway, right? He's
an electrical engineer, buddy. Come on.
Electrical mechanics. These guys are the tank maintainers and stuff. They're like basically the engineering wing of the army. I have some knowledge of them because when I was in the cadets, we went on like a thing went to Germany, and we did like a week staying with these guys. It was like they organized this thing for us young lads. So, and I spent time with these guys, and I can't say they were heavily drinking wankers, particularly. I thought they were very nice. I actually got a cat badge. I've still got it in one of my drawers somewhere. A Remy, like a cat hat, as if I can pretend I'm in the bloody group. It's like metal and everything.
Nice.
There's not a lot of them. They're not that big of a unit of the army, I don't think. So yeah, it's I can imagine this is an army thing though, right? Like
what, like the jerking off challenge?
Yeah, I guess women can take part too. You know, it's like not necessarily limited to.
Yeah, why not?
I suppose so. Sure,
much more easily, I should think. Like there's I think you could just lean up against a washing machine if there's one of those knocking about, and
I think it depends what you're working with, doesn't it? Though.
Well, a vagina. I mean,
no, I mean if you're a man.
Oh, I see.
It depends what scale we're talking here. You know,
oh man.
I've got an email here. What
are the 4 royal residences?
There's Buckingham Palace. There's Kensington Palace.
There's
what
about
Tower
Windsor?
of London.
Where's Windsor?
Windsor is in Windsor.
Yeah, but there's another Windsor Palace. Is like, isn't it up north or something? Am I going mad?
No, you're thinking of the castle, Windsor Castle.
There's Windsor Castle. Yeah, Windsor Castle. Where does that count?
No, it's not. Well, it's like it's just on the, yeah, it's like just on the outside of London, but not quite London. I can't think where the other one would be.
Residences.
Well, I reckon I don't know if it means something else to the army. You know, like
you got Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle.
Windsor Castle is considered part of it.
It says the Palace of Holyrood House and Hillsborough Castle in Northern Ireland. So I guess you've got to do all 4. I don't know. Either way,
you got to do like one in each country.
Yeah, this is.
Is there one?
This is from.
This is Wales.
I'm going to get this lad's name. This guy's name is Beata.
Wank around the Isles. Sorry, I love that.
Beata Halfporsen, I think. So I think he's Icelandic.
Right.
He says, I'm about to become a dad for the first time. An interesting turn of events given my grotesquely tiny penis, but a welcome one for sure. I was wondering if you could get Lewis, with him being the only non-dad of the podcast, to give me some advice for my new upcoming role. So Lewis, and then Sips, you're going to critique Lewis's advice.
Sure.
So
let's see if Lewis is ready for dad.
You're going to give us just a brief bit of, just like a 1-minute little monologue. I'll cue you in. Advice about becoming a dad for the first time.
Okay, so I think the thing is just to go with the flow. You know, the people have been having kids since ever. Yeah. You know, you wouldn't exist if thousands of people hadn't had kids before you. So
that's so true. So true.
You got to just rely on your paternal instincts. Do what your wife or partner says. You know, squeeze her hand when she's giving birth.
Yeah,
and make sure you got some towels down in the car.
Don't take it personally when she just tells you to fuck right off, like mid labor.
And then, maybe limit it to like 2 kids max later on. I know there's the temptation to have more, but resist.
Yeah,
my dude. God, make sure to just abandon all your friends and life commitments. Life will never be the same again.
Yeah,
get your holidays done. Get your will made, tidy your cupboards. They ain't going to be tidied for the next 7 years, for God's sake.
Oh my God, there's no
I've
way.
seen anything about Sips' house.
Yeah.
Just wet wipes. Just be prepared. Just get prepared. Be like a prepper. Get your ducks in a row.
Yes.
And just be ready for the apocalypse.
Pretty much.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good advice, actually.
It's that time.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
I feel like that's solid, Flax. I would give the same sort of advice as well.
Well done, Lewis. You fumbled your way through that.
I've listened to you guys.
Yeah, he's been listening.
Yeah, all right. Advice for new dads. God, good luck to you, my man.
Indeed, good luck.
Holy crap.
Okay, here we go. This is this might be a bit nuts. This is from Hello Triforce. My name is Jazzy, and I've been a long-time Yogs fan and Triforce listener. I work for Child Protective Services in the US. While most cases are just petty neighbors or divorced parents making mountains out of molehills, or moleholes is what they've written here.
Mountains out of moleholes.
There are still some really tough moments. A while back, I was interviewing a kid regarding some really heavy stuff. Since I was listening to the podcast recently in my car, the Triforce logo was on my lock screen due to it being paused. He noticed and said he loves the podcast too, and we had a good chat about it to lift the mood after a tough conversation. I thought he'd appreciate that. And just in case it has to be said, I did not tell a teenager that I had a tiny penis, because obviously. Also, in regards to your discussion a few weeks ago about people naming their children dumb stuff, I see it a lot at my job. I've spoken to kids named Zelda, Link, and Ganon, and also a girl named Magic.
Right.
Yeah, I suppose Magic is quite sweet, but Link and Ganon. I mean, Zelda, Link, and Ganon. Robin Williams started that off, didn't he? Call his daughter's name is Zelda Williams. I think that's right.
I don't mind Zelda so much because there's even like characters called Zelda in like
anime.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
It sounds like a Greek name.
Zelda,
it just sounds like a Greek name, like Zorba.
Yeah.
Like Zorba.
Yeah.
Zelda the Greek.
It does. I think you could. Link is a boy's name anyway, right? There's like Rhett and Link, Good Mythical Morning. I think it's Lincoln, right? It's just short for Lincoln.
Oh yeah.
So that's not too bad. And Ganon is a bit of a weird one. I think most people don't tend to name kids after bad guys. You
don't see many Hitlers running around.
But
That's
maybe
for sure.
Ganon's had like a redemption arc that I didn't know about.
Not many Voldemorts. Get some Voldemorts in there.
No, there's not. But maybe they're just Vol.
I actually wonder if Adolf is still
Volhol.
was still a popular name after World War II, or if it was just one of those names that nobody went near, sort of thing. Because you don't see.
No, I think a lot of people changed their name away from it.
Yeah. But it must. But it must have been. It's got to be like one of those old sort of like traditional names, though, right?
Like Adolphus, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
But there's probably a Pope Adolphus.
Is there any other name in history? This is definitely something we've spoken about before. I'm getting serious Triforce deja vu here. Is there any other name in history where you think? I mean, Genghis springs to mind as a name that you could.
Genghis. Yeah.
You only think of one person. Adolf, Genghis.
Yeah.
Who else?
Attila. Well, it tends to be that these people were the Hitlers of their time, though, right? Like we talk about Hitler because but Napoleon used to be,
Napoleon,
the bad word, right? No one would name their kid Napoleon.
Well, maybe in France they did.
Bonaparte. Certainly like those.
Man, that reminds me. I was playing Hitman 3 yesterday, and I found an item which is a little doll of Napoleon, but it was a remote explosive, and it was called Napoleon Bonaparte. Just thought I would mention that.
That's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
No, I don't. I think like the thing I have about these kids' names is that some of them work well when they're a kid, but then what if they were an old person? Like having a name like Magic to be an old person, you just sound like an old hippie, wouldn't you? Right?
Yeah.
And would that have like a nominative, deterministic effect on you as well?
Nice
Would you be more into magic? I feel like people that you meet called like something Baker tend to be competent at cooking.
That's not true at all.
Because they feel bad about like not being.
Right.
It's I don't know. It's just like a
That's
constant
such
reminder. It's
bollocks.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
I
think you're
That's
really
absolutely
reaching here, but
okay. But well, we talked about this before. But I
there's
wonder
a million
whether-
bakers out there who have never once baked a loaf of bread in their life, and never will. There's millions. Of
I am
them.
fascinated about how these like things like psychologically like change your choices. You know, if your name's Magic, how's that going to affect you in your life? You know, and some people it doesn't affect them a jot. but
Honestly,
others,
I think it probably
you know.
the only real tangible effect on their life is that they're more likely to just have their name legally changed at some point, whereas most people probably don't
Right.
bother.
Yeah.
right.
You know,
All right,
Yeah.
this is from Tristan.
But then again, Magic Johnson, you know, he was like, you know, he was.
True.
Yeah.
Is this
his name, he
people
was
with the
not born. His first name was not Magic, though.
It was
Right.
it was Dunks.
It was what was it? Okay, hang
It
on a
was
second.
3-pointer.
Magic.
It was Basketball Johnson. He changed it to Magic.
It's
Also,
Irvin.
Magic Johnson. God,
Irvin.
did anyone
Irvin.
Magic Johnson. Yeah.
Magic Johnson? Did not people not think Magic
Yes,
Magic
of course.
Johnson was a
But
okay?
You know what I think the main thing, if you have a
He
really
did use
unusual
his
name,
Johnson quite a bit as
he
well.
did. That's how he
Yeah.
got into so much trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he got AIDS because he slept around so much. That was one.
Good
thing.
lord.
Yeah. It's quite a sad story. Anyway, I think if you have a memorable name like Zelda or Magic, the number one thing that's going to happen is people are going to remember your name, and that does matter because you then at least are memorable. So yeah, I do think there is something to be said for having a memorable name, but I don't think that having a name like Minnie Driver, for example, isn't an Uber driver, is she? She's an
No.
actor. So Minnie Driver is a memorable name. That in itself is enough.
Minnie,
Harrison
I
Ford
feel like
doesn't own a Ford.
no,
Just saying.
but Minnie for me is a name where if your kid is called Minnie, it's okay, but then as an adult, it's probably less okay, right? Minnie is just a bit of a I don't know.
mind Minnie as a girl's name.
I think it's
don't like
quite
it as a-
sweet.
I think it's quite cute. I don't like Junior.
Junior.
Um,
Yeah. What about
Junior
Junior
is a-
Soprano though? That suited him.
Uncle June.
Wow.
Uncle June. Uncle June. Come on. All right.
Come on.
Let's move on. This is from Tristan. This is interesting because I was talking about archaeologists the other day with someone out of nowhere. Hello, gents. I'm an American archaeologist working in New Mexico, and I have a story about my recent fieldwork in the desert. We were camping in the remote desert wilderness a couple of hours' drive from any civilization, looking for signs of Native American occupation in some canyons. We would hike 10 hours a day through rugged terrain with little shade, trudging through thick desert brush. Let me tell you, the plants here are mean as hell.
Right.
Everything from small
The
grass.
plants are mean.
The plants, but wait. Everything
Well,
from
normally it's the
small grasses.
mosquitoes or the snakes.
You wouldn't
or
get
the-
mosquitoes in the desert, just saying.
No,
Everything
no.
from small grasses to large bushes and cacti have some sort of barbed growth or massive thorn which thoroughly rakes through your clothes. I had a 10-centimeter thorn pierce the sole of my thick leather boot and stab into my foot. But it's not the flora that's concerning here, it's the animals. While crawling on my hands and knees in a rock shelter looking for artifacts, I felt something tapping my head, and looked up. I saw a 23-centimeter desert centipede scuttle at speed into a crevasse. Look these things up. Fucking nightmare. Less than
Oh
a minute
my God.
later, I crawled over a boulder and put my face less than a foot from a diamondback rattlesnake. He didn't even care,
Whoa.
but I had to work around him for the next couple of hours and had to dodge one of his friends coming back to his shelter when I was leaving. At night in our tents, we would hear the coyote packs running through camp, and in the mornings we would find cow carcasses with hunks of flesh still attached to the bone. Even though my job is nothing like Indiana Jones, some aspects like the snakes ring true. Keep up the good work and wish me luck in the field. Good luck,
Man,
Trist.
good luck in the field. I'm glad it's you doing it and not me. I would not like to do that job at all. Jeez,
No.
I would hate
Send
that.
us a picture.
He has sent me
of
3
the-
pictures.
Wow.
Oh, right.
I will endeavor to drag them somewhere and
Put them
save
in the
them.
Discord.
Yes, I will do that. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Yeah, oh God. Well, he's making it sound like it's packed full. I thought the bloody place was empty. You know,
No.
I didn't realize it was like. Also, what's a cow doing in the desert? How did they get that in there?
Well,
How did
it's-
they get? How far have they dragged that?
Well,
from?
I guess that it sort of wandered off.
They probably milk it every damn day to help them keep going. You know,
No, they
Good source of
they brought
calcium.
it
they
with
gotta
them.
bring it with them. Yeah,
Yeah, they brought it with them.
fresh from the source.
Here are the pictures. So you've got. Let me see. So the top one is
Holy
the
crap.
bits of cow. There's a fucking hoof still attached there. So that's
Yeah,
pretty grisly.
that's
Then
pretty
that's
grisly.
the kind of wilderness we're talking about with all the desert brush.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
there's
it
a
looks like
rattlesnake
Death
in
Valley,
a hole.
doesn't
Look
it?
at that. There's a wee rattlesnake in a hole. Sorry, we can't share these with you, but just imagine them.
Just imagine like it looks like the scene out of a spaghetti western, if you've ever seen one of those, right? That's kind of what like the landscape looks like. You could just imagine.
Oh yeah, this reminds me of the This reminds me of this story that I read back in the day about the Germans who went missing in Death Valley. I think we talked about this ages ago, but man, if you never read that story, it's really worth reading. It's basically this family of Germans went missing in Death Valley, and it's really remote, right? Really, really kind of like super remote to the point where it's a day's drive out there, and you know, there's no phone signal and no. You know, it's just a nightmare.
Don't take your family
so
there
hot.
would be how I would put it. First
No,
and
it's funny enough. Like for me, it's in the name. I'm not going to a place called Death Valley.
Daddy, what are we going to do today?
I'm not going to Hell Canyon, and I'm not going to Hellscape, and I'm not going to Deathland. Those are all places that I'm not going to really be going to, especially not with my family of young children and my wife and stuff.
Stupid.
I won't be taking them to that either.
So yeah, you can, if you Google up Death Valley Germans, there's a guy's blog which is still up where he just catalogs his attempts to find this what happened to this family, and eventually, spoiler, did find out what happened to them.
Found
so
like a shoe, and then found it sounds like it would
be a great documentary, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds like Firewatch, the game Firewatch. If you ever played that, really good game, really good, actually, really nice.
Good vibes in that game. Definitely.
Yeah, but the story was like that sort of built up in like while you were playing it.
It wasn't what you expected.
Wasn't what you expected, but it's pretty good. It was all right.
Yeah,
all right.
I like that when I watched. I watched The Menu. Have you seen The Menu?
I haven't watched it yet.
No, I haven't seen that.
I recommend. It's not what I expected, which I like.
I'm still watching
that. That's all I need from a TV show or movie these days.
I'm still watching that Ken Burns, The U.S. and the Holocaust documentary, which is long. It's interesting and pretty grim, but long as well. But really detailed. I
don't think there's going to be a twist there, though.
There's
right?
no.
It's not going to turn out that, like...
Yeah, it's all...
It's not the kind of place where there's something... What else have I watched that was quite good that was a bit unexpected? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, let's carry on. This is a great, by the way, it's a great podcast today.
Okay.
Loving this.
I'm glad you're happy.
Shout out to...
Big me,
shout out
mostly,
to all the little groups of people. Yeah. Like, shout out to the furries sweating their little furry balls off in costumes, and the Remy guys sat in a greased up under a tank. Mm-hmm. It's just great. And the guy in the desert. And,
I especially like the fact that nobody's called me out on any of my nonsense today. It's been especially good. Because I don't know if you listened to the last Mailbag. Jesus.
Well, we'll see. You got one email, Sips, one in the whole time we've been doing the Triforce. One.
Well, I have
criticizing
standards.
you for not paying the fucking extra, calling you a bozo, and that's all you can talk about.
I can't get
like
over
10
it.
a week.
Well, I have high standards.
But Sips is the darling of the podcast.
I mean,
everyone loves him. He's the funny
no one
one
is above criticism. All right, maybe in future, if I get one that's in any way critical of Sips, I'll censor it like some kind of government agent.
Okay, no,
I'll put a black line on that though.
No. There was the charitable bozo guy, and there was the Wisconsin guy as well, if you remember.
You brought that on yourself.
I did not. Maybe I did.
You criticized Wisconsin, and believe it or not, a bunch of people from Wisconsin weren't happy about that.
I didn't think that could happen, though. Like, not in a million years do I think that would
happen. So nice.
You didn't think they had computer accesses.
I didn't say that.
That's like leopards ate my face, isn't it? It's
I did not say that.
I didn't think they could complain about me.
Thought I was untouchable.
All right.
Thought it was safe to make fun of Wisconsin.
This is from Sean. Sean works for Amazon in the Alexa Home Products Q&A department.
Oh no!
I've been working on creating skills for Alexa devices like games and functions. Was wondering what ideas you guys might have, realistic or not. So, what ideas do you guys have for what the Alexa could do?
Man, I'm not doing your fucking job for you. Do your job. How about you come up with the ideas?
No.
I got enough to do already. I don't need to be doing this too. Jeez, now I'm going to be racking my brains. Thanks so much for this.
I honestly think the smartest people in the world have not figured out how to make Alexa useful, or like anyone asks Alexa more than Alexa, what's the time?
Can you think of a way where I can ask Alexa to play radio-friendly versions of otherwise very explicit songs? Because I would love my kids to be able to listen to some hip-hop classics, but it's impossible to get the radio versions to play on Alexa. So maybe that
like
maybe you could start with that.
So Alexa
Not
can
even
detect swear
beeping,
words
or like sometimes they
and beep them
cut
out.
the swear words out. But no, she doesn't even need to do that though, because mostly on Spotify or Amazon Music or whatever service you're using, there are radio-friendly versions of like all of these songs. Because a lot of these songs, as explicit as they are, at some point were in the charts, so they would have had to have been played on the radio. So there are versions out there. It's just impossible to get Alexa to pinpoint the version that you want to play. So
For instance,
how about that, please?
The one that goes la-di-da-di-da. It's the motherfucking D-O-double-G.
Yeah,
Snoop
why
Dogg.
can't it just be the motherflipping?
No, it's the one and only. Is what
the one and only D-O-double-G. Snoop Dogg, mother flipper,
mother truckers.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not. They
not
exist.
hard.
They do exist, but it's impossible to pinpoint them on.
I would
Alexa.
like to talk about the alarm system on Alexa, because I feel like the voice recognition is that you say alarm and then it flubs it a lot when you're asking it. Like I'm like, Alexa, can you set an alarm for 7:30 every weekday except Fridays when I want it to be 8:30? And it goes, setting alarm for tomorrow 8:30. It's like, what the fuck? So I don't know if it's my accent or I don't enunciate or it just doesn't hear me or whatever, but I wish it would say, sorry, what was that last part? You know, just ask for some clarification, because sometimes it just has a go.
Yeah.
And then you're like, fucking fine. Alexa, cancel all alarms. You got to start again. It's just not very smart. Just smarten it up. Right?
Yeah.
Smarten it up. It's been around long
Alexa
enough.
smarter.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, like we said, do just use Alexa for alarms and like basic crap, right? Like,
what's the weather going to be like? Is what my daughter asks it every morning, and then she tells us. Alexa, what's the weather going to be like today? It'll be 11 degrees and will rain around lunchtime. She's like, guess what, Dad? I'm like, what? And then she tells me. I'm like, cool. So that's about it at the moment. Yeah.
So your daughter is kind of like a pseudo Alexa.
Yeah. Alexa, if it could run upstairs and tell me things. Alexa, here's one. Alexa, make me a cup of tea, or get the kids to make me a cup of tea, please. That would be a good one.
Right. And what does that do then? Does that send them a text message?
No, it just says to them, I will keep making this noise until you make Dad a cup of tea. And just doesn't shut up until it gets confirmation from me that I have had my tea. That would be good.
I feel like Alexa's tried everything, right? They've tried like text adventures. You know, they've tried like drop-in phone calls. You can like drop in to other people's Alexa to talk to them. But that's just, none of these things are actually very good.
Yeah.
I feel like this, they've tried so much and none of it's really stuck. Because people aren't really comfortable buying stuff over Alexa because we never trust that she can hear us that well.
And you don't want to buy. She's got the wrong one, exactly.
And also, you don't really want to buy like something without seeing it a lot of time, because half the time, even the shit I buy on Amazon, like I bought some varnish the other day, and it was like a minuscule bottle, and I got like scammed. Do you know what I mean? I'd like, you know, I thought I'd bought a liter of it, and I bought like a fucking, you know,
a tiny
mini
10
mini bottle.
Do you know? So I think that the core problem that Alexa has is, what can she do that my phone can't? Is, I suppose, the problem.
Yeah.
Because the only thing it's got going for it is I can just talk to it and it will sometimes do what I ask it. That's it. That's essentially the selling point of Alexa. Is it just sits in your house and listens to everything you say, even though it says it doesn't. It does, I'm sure. And then you ask it to do stuff, and it quite often flubs what you've asked it to do, or it does something that you could have done in 2 seconds anyway. So it's kind of just redundant. It's a bit like
people have,
when Alan Sugar brought out that phone that did email at the same time as BlackBerries came out. Well done, Lord Sugar.
The Amstrad emailer.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. This is from Ryan. I was saddened recently to hear that one of my fellow countrymen had written to you in criticism of beans on toast. He's an American, by the way.
Right.
Americans have many things to be embarrassed about. In my experience, the topic of gross foods doesn't come up often, but I assure you that beans on toast is not always the first one mentioned. I proudly write to you as an American beans on toast fan who occasionally indulges in what I call the half-American breakfast. which is eggs, sausage, home fries or hash browns, and beans on toast. There's nothing better, although the Heinz curry-flavored beans aren't really worth $5 a can. This is getting very specific.
They got a barbecue flavor beans as well. That's kind of nice. The Heinz. If you're ever looking to spice things up a bit.
Well, I mean, okay.
Hold on.
I get this.
There is more. There is more. Just hold on.
Okay.
Americans do love to hate British things. It's not a texture thing, I'm sure, because we eat baked beans with hot dogs all the time. But like many American things, baked beans here are sugary and are often heavily flavored with things like bacon, maple syrup, honey, onions, and barbecue sauce.
Molasses as well.
I was surprised to see beans on a diner breakfast menu recently and had to test to see if it was the sugary American kind or the tomatoey, savory British kind. I was disappointed.
The British ones are still very sweet.
They are, but
honestly.
not as sweet as the American ones, I think is his point.
Right.
So he's saying that any country that gave the world the culinary delights of meatloaf, grits, and cheese whiz should on occasion step out from behind their cheeseburgers and apple pie to appreciate what else the wide world has to offer.
Yeah.
Yours sincerely, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks so much. Finally, somebody said it, you know?
Someone's talking sense, right? Well, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so first of all, I've heard good things about Branston beans.
They're very good.
Yeah, they're
is
good.
Is this a thing?
Good
That's
beans.
the truth?
Yeah, they're
truth?
good. We have them now.
And Branston pickle
they're
as
good.
well, yeah.
Much better. Much less of a soupy sauce than the Heinz. It's a better, it's a better consistency. It's better flavor. But I'll say this: if American listeners out there, if you want to make your baked beans better, my friend Sarah from Texas sent me a bottle of Salt Lick barbecue sauce.
Right.
This stuff is the best barbecue sauce I've ever had, hands down. If you put a big old, I'd say, let me think, a big tablespoon of that into your beans when they're cooking, mix it all through, you get amazing barbecue beans, and that's the best. So add a little bit of Salt Lick barbecue sauce. This podcast is not brought to you by Salt Lick. Other barbecue sauces.
It's not?
Apparently
I'm
not.
always looking for an additive to my beans, but I always felt like it was just gonna.
Okay, here. How
just
about
make
this?
It sweeter.
You ready for this? I got a couple of things that you could add to your beans. This is a little recipe. Okay, add a bit of molasses into your beans. Okay, not too much.
Molasses. What year are we in?
Get some molasses in there. Then get like a little tiny bit of brown sugar in there as well.
Sugar
and then
molasses.
get a little squirt of French's mustard, American style mustard in there as well.
Right. Jeez.
Yeah.
Jesus
Might as
Christ.
well just,
Oh
like,
man, it makes your beans real nice. Trust me.
Get some candy floss and fold that in there as well. And
Yeah,
God,
sure.
yeah,
Why
just
not?
get some
Hey,
Haribo.
might as well
Why
while
not
you're at
just
it, yeah.
dissolve
Oh,
those
sure.
and
in
then
there?
put some of those flying saucer UFO sweets.
Break some of those flying saucers open and just pour the sugar.
Get some sherbet on
into-
there and a couple of grams of sugar and some more brown sugar.
Hey.
It's very sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
I'm not sure.
This is from Joseph and the Park Runners. I don't know if that's not a band. That's what they do. I'm from Bournemouth. That's why I'm reading this out. And listen to the podcast while doing the weekly park run.
Right.
Like most runners,
Sorry,
I love
you're reading
stats
it out because of
he's
the
from
Bournemouth.
Yeah,
Right.
I love stats.
So he gets some sort of
Yes, he
special
does,
treatment.
absolutely. I love stats, so
Right.
track my running speed and times, etc. I'm sure there must be many others like me that listen to the podcast while tracking our exercise. Could you please give us a power boost during the podcast to help us push us to our limits and get those PBs?
I always wonder what those runners are listening to, and I just assume they're listening to trance or something, right? Like some banging Venga Boys or whatever, like just something like that just gives them that, like, something to run in time
I
with.
always
Right?
imagine them listening to like Lighthouse Family or something, like like lifted, doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, lifted, doodle-doo-doo. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
God, yeah.
like stuff like that.
All right, so let's each give them a power boost. Sips, you can go first. Give these runners a power boost.
Come on, guys, keep your peckers up. All right, let's see you work those glutes. Oh my God, that's great. You're doing so good. Well done. Clapping. I'm clap. Is that good enough?
Yeah,
Sure, Lewis.
Yeah. Don't give up. You can do another 5 yards or whatever. How far you're measuring.
I know. You gotta believe.
Just think about how good this will look on your fitness tracker when you look at that when you get back later. God, just come on, work off that
Inspirational.
flabby baked beans on toast that you ate this morning.
All right,
work-
Get rid of it.
You work it off.
I'll do one as well. You are feeling very sleepy. Go and have a nice lie down. There is no more
Just-
running for you. Ooh, go lie down.
Oh.
So tired. Feel your legs getting heavier. That's just to balance it out.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good of you.
Nice. Very good.
It's good of you to provide balance.
Well
Oh my god! All right.
Well done.
What's next?
Well done.
What else have you got for
Was
us?
listening to the episode of y'all talking about that 90s show when you got to calling Wisconsin the middle of nowhere and stuck in the 70s.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm sure you'll be glad to hear you've got listeners in Wisconsin angry, me being one of them.
Holy crap.
I would say in general you're pretty accurate in that there isn't anything too crazy
I'm
here.
sure
Right.
they've got like a giant ball of string
Well,
or
just
something,
you wait.
you know.
If you want a bit of an exaggerated example of Wisconsin and the Midwest, here are some things that we are known for. Wisconsin Dells, which is the water park capital of the world.
Oh.
Chris Farley, who was born in Madison, Wisconsin.
Wow.
Jeffrey Dahmer, friend
Yeah.
of the podcast, born in Milwaukee.
Yes.
Friend of the podcast.
Harry Houdini, born in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Whoa.
Mark Ruffalo, born in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Jeez.
Cheese and dairy. People refer to themselves as cheeseheads. And beer and breweries. Yes, Wisconsin. We don't have any of those things
No.
here in the rest of the world.
You
For
guys
Sips, I'd
are-
say
yeah.
the easy comparison of Wisconsin and other Midwest neighboring states is a lot of Canada. Basically, a lot of nature in the outdoors. And he's saying he does like Banff and Jasper in Canada, whatever those
Well,
are.
I mean, they're beautiful spots, yeah, and not very, very unique, like compared to, say, Wisconsin, for example, because it's they're mountain resorts, so
So not so much criticism, so much as pointing out some very ordinary things from what is, according to Sips, a very ordinary place.
yes.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Mark Ruffalo is like, he's pretty mid. You know what I mean? I like Mark Ruffalo, but you wouldn't describe him as like exciting. He's very Wisconsin, I would suggest.
I didn't know why I assumed
methodically
Harry Houdini
acceptable.
was from, you know, Bratislava or somewhere and changed his name. You know, I just assumed he was one of these.
No, he's from Wisconsin.
I didn't realize he was just a all-American, you know.
I'd like to
lad.
point something out. That he was from Wisconsin and he was an escape artist. So he escaped Wisconsin. That was his first order of
that was
business.
his big. That was his
Yeah,
first
that
big
was his
trick
big
from
start.
Wisconsin. He got out.
If I can escape Wisconsin, I can get out of anywhere.
Sounds like a bad action movie,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Escape from
Escape
Wisconsin.
from Wisconsin.
Listen, I'm sorry for describing Wisconsin in an unflattering way or whatever. I've never been myself. I only hear things about Wisconsin. Okay, like people tell me that Wisconsin is just kind of plain, kind of boring, like a little bit Fargo or whatever, and I believe them. So
Yep.
you know, if you're coming at me with some knowledge bombs to dispel those myths, great. That's good, because I honestly don't have any I don't have like a dog in this fight. I don't have a horse in this race. Like I just don't
He
care.
doesn't really
Right.
care.
I
He doesn't
don't.
really care.
I really
Yeah.
don't.
I think the world generally has moved on, right, a lot, and I think we do watch a lot of 80s, 90s stuff where maybe Wisconsin was more of a butt of a joke than it is now. I think, you know,
I mean,
in
well,
30
hold on.
years things have changed
Yeah,
a lot.
but at the same time, a lot of the people writing in to defend Wisconsin are really
Haven't
not
really put a
saying
good
anything
argument
particularly
forward, right.
exciting. It's like, we've got a big water park and we make a lot of cheese. It's like, wow, you're right. I've completely revisited my opinion of Wisconsin as potentially a fairly regular, boring place. Anyway, this is bizarre. This is from Benji. I work in a lab at a major university in the US doing academic research in the field of cellular agriculture. My work is specifically
Okay.
focused on how to grow meat in a lab. We
Wow.
call meat grown this way
Okay.
cultivated meat. I'm wondering if you guys would ever try or be interested in eating cultivated meat. Do you want to hear how they make it first?
Sure.
The goal is to get muscle and fat cells from animals and grow the population of cells, hopefully forever, so we don't have to get more from an animal, and then figure out how to grow them in 3D in the shape of meat. There are huge humanitarian, ethical, and environmental benefits to growing meat in this way, but you guys can read about that yourselves. There are also a lot of companies that have started working on this problem, in addition to academia. And Upside Foods was recently the first company in the world to receive US FDA green light for cultivated meat, after they concluded that their cultivated chicken is safe to eat. Would you eat lab meat as a vegan, Lewis? I'll ask you first.
I gotta say, I feel like it's a no.
Okay.
Partly because it just makes me feel a bit queasy eating meat now. I've really not eaten an even lab grown meat. I think it's just a personal thing. I think even if it's like solves the problems of cruelty and climate change and all these issues with with meat production. It's amazing how fascinated we are. I think something also about the idea of it being made in a lab. That whole description was very unpalatable.
Yeah.
But then again, like, you know, it's best to not think too closely about where your food comes from, or else you'd end up eating fuck all. Do you know what I mean? Like, you end up not eating. You know, it's all the chocolate's made in some terrible, you know, abusive situations, you know, of modern slavery, and you know, despite, you know, Tony's Chocolonely doing their best, even then the milk's coming from, you know, cows that are being injected with hormones. It's pretty miserable stuff. Generally, the food situation. So would I eat it? I mean, I guess I don't miss meat. I guess when I say meat, I mean this is what I mean when I say meat. I mean chicken, which has a very good texture, but I think you can get very close to that with other things anyway. I like spicy food generally, and so when I eat meat, I tend to have it with some spicy sauce, and as a result, chicken to me is like not that crucial. I know some people swear by it, but I don't miss it. I certainly don't miss the saltiness of, you know, fried chicken or bacon. I think they are very overly salty in the same way I don't like overly sweet things either. I think my palate is like, I've tried to be a little bit less on the extremes. So I don't really love the gristliness of sausages and lamb and some of these other meats too. And I don't think pork's really very good generally.
Oh my God.
I miss ham. I think ham, maybe if there was a lab-grown
like
ham,
a
I think
salty
that's the
ham.
one thing.
You can get corn ham. Corn ham.
I grew up with a nice butcher opposite, and they always did this very nice thick slices of ham that I very much enjoyed in a sandwich. And I think I miss a ham and mustard, and you know, I miss a really nice ham and mustard sandwich. But
I mean, honestly, if you look at Spam, that could be lab-grown meat. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't look like it came off an animal.
I didn't hate corned beef either. Like, that was like growing up, I ate a lot of this.
That looks like lab meat, like
which
just
is
a slab.
pretty grim.
Yeah,
I mean, corned beef, God. And some people really. The thing is, it's about what you grew up with, right? Like, too. Like, if you were a kid and you grew up eating these pretty awful sounding foods like tongue or, you know, haggis, which is basically, I found out haggis is just lungs. Basically,
there's some other bits and bobs in there, but yeah, more or less.
Well, it's like something like 50 or 60% lungs.
Yeah, delicious lungs.
Just what you need
for
your health.
For your health.
I don't know. So would I eat lab-grown meat? No. Sips? Would you?
I don't know if I would, actually. It just sounds kind of gross, you know?
It does.
This does sound a little bit gross.
But do you guys do you possess anything that is made of silk?
No.
Silk?
It's too fancy for me. Why?
Do you know how they make it?
Well, because it comes out of a bug, right? A worm?
No. So my vision of where silk comes from is that they had like racks of these little bugs and some kind of spool that just pulled the silk out of them. They grow the silkworms, and as soon as they start to go into cocoon form, they boil them. They chuck them all in a big thing and boil them, and then you pull the silk out as you're boiling them, sort of thing.
Man.
So I think that kind of changed my idea of where silk comes from. I had a vision. I think I saw this on Twitter, and I was like, what? I looked it up. Everyone that was posting was like, I thought that all the worms just sat all there cozy in a little thing, and the silk came out and they just carefully wound it onto things, but of course they just fucking boiled them. So yeah, there we go. Sorry,
well, I don't know what I expected.
No, why did we expect it to be in any way nice? But yeah, no, of course it's
like
hideous.
Any of our things that are farmed from nature, we just find a really cruel way to do
boil
it.
Them. Just fucking boil them alive, mate. That much quicker. All right, this is from Gia. Dear Piran, you asked about what babies' first words are in other countries. This is on another episode we did where we were saying that dada and mama seem like the most common.
Yeah.
My baby is 4 months younger than Sips' youngest, and she's half Norwegian and half Vietnamese. That's quite an unusual mix.
Wow, yeah, it's a combo, yeah.
We spent a few months in Vietnam last year, and her first word was the Vietnamese word Nhan, which means hurry.
Oh, there
which
you
means
go.
hurry up. And she would yell out, Nhan, 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 whenever her grandparents took too long to dress her or change her nappy. So it turns out not all kids say dada or mama. Some
No.
jump right into yelling at old people for being slow.
My
So,
my
Wow.
daughter is now saying dib a lot. She says dib.
Dib.
Yeah.
dib, dib,
She goes
dib,
dib 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 dib. That's the mainstay. And she's now trying to say words. Like she knows like the sound of the words that she needs to say in certain situations. So like she's got a lot of lift the flap books. She's got lots of spot books, with lift the flap. And if you've ever read one of those books before, you'll know that 90% of the book is no. Like you open a flap and somebody is saying no on the other side because they're always looking for Spot, or they're looking for his bone, or they're looking for his school bag.
Is his bone under the table?
Yes, and then you open the flap. No.
Yeah.
So every time you open the flap, she goes, oh. It's like she knows like what roughly she needs to say, but she's like not quite there yet.
So funny.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I wonder whether that's just like a more complicated sound to make in your mouth.
I don't know.
There's so many of these sounds like
just
come
everything
from, like,
with babies, they just develop.
just slowly learn
They're
stuff.
constantly developing, so there's just always and
Well, a lot of different cultures use different or don't have specific vowel sounds in their language naturally. So, or like just a great example would be the clicking, right? In African, some of the African languages, where they
like
where we never even or even like just like the Welsh, or the sort of Dutch hacking and stuff, or planning it up, that stuff is so natural to people in certain languages that we just don't.
Yes.
Oh, you're a natural.
Yeah, I speak fluent Dutch.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is from Yu Chen. Hyperion, Chinese babies do indeed babble mama, but the phrase for dad is baba rather than the Western
Baba.
dada.
Yeah.
Source, am Chinese.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they say baba instead of dada.
Baba.
Baba.
That's cool.
Yeah, they say baba a little. I think anything that goes like like I think like m, duh, and buh are like the kind of go-tos.
Those
at
are the
first.
easy ones.
They're the easier ones, yeah. But like you trying to get them to say like ta-ta or something like that is impossible. Like they can't do
They can't roll their R's. And
No,
they
they
couldn't say ra-ra.
no,
either.
they can say like le fromage.
So you're saying they can't
They're
do
not there
Lady
yet.
Gaga's hits?
No, they can't say
It's trouble.
Roma ma. No. What's the other one?
La,
Ba, ba, la, la, la.
la.
No, they can't say la la either. So it's tough. Yeah.
Okay, well, useless.
Yeah.
This is
Kids.
this one's from Ed. This is about something that you said recently, Lewis.
Uh-oh.
Being called out.
Uh-oh.
I think we may all have commented on this, but I seem to remember it being Lulu. My name is Ed, and I live in Melbourne, Australia. On a recent
Hello.
Triforce episode, you guys spent some time questioning the legitimacy of the humble Kazoo in a non-novelty setting. I couldn't
Yeah, we
be
did.
more offended by this if I tried.
Here we go.
As my
Okay.
own band's debut single features a 4-part harmonised kazoo break in what is undoubtedly not a gimmicky musical climax at all.
Right.
Okay, no.
Of course.
Lewis also talked about anyone being able to play a kazoo. As someone who hands out about 50 kazoos to the audience whenever we do this song live, I can assure you this is not the bloody case. People just blow into the thing and expect magic notes to come out the other end. We had to incorporate a kazoo lesson into our shows to address such stupidity. Maybe it's something in
Wow.
the water down here. Anyway, love you, lads. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Ed.
Maybe it is
Ed,
something
send
in
me
the
some,
water down
send
there.
me some tickets.
Yeah.
I'll come to one of your
I'll
shows.
send you lads the song. They're called Tracksuit Larry, and the song is "Gimme the Bat." If you want to look it up. Oh no,
Okay.
that is a listing for a 3-bedroom flat in Euston Road for £10 million.
Nice.
Sorry, that was something I sent.
I love
I
how
sent that
that
to
is
Mrs.
on
F.
your clipboard.
That's because my mate sent that to me. There is a 3-bedroom flat for sale in Euston Road. It is above the St Pancras, King's Cross St Pancras station.
Right.
It is a £10 million flat, 3-bedroom, but it looks pretty amazing. Anyway, there's the track if you guys want to give that a listen. If you guys want to...
That reminds me. Did I tell you
So
why?
I'm looking at the flat right
in
now.
I was in a group chat the other day on WhatsApp, and I wanted to share a YouTube tutorial video for a board game, and so I clicked share on the app and posted it in WhatsApp, and it shared the advert that was playing at the start of the video instead of the fucking YouTube. And I didn't even know it could do that, but I just felt like the biggest boomer in the world because I posted this advert to the group chat. It looked like I'd been hacked or something. It was like a super scam. It was like, it was like you get free robots, androids on your, some real scammy looking ad. So everyone was like, in the group chat was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh shit, I better delete this quickly because it's embarrassing. And I pressed delete for myself instead of delete for everyone. So
you couldn't see it anymore, and everyone.
So I couldn't see it anymore, and everyone else could. And I just felt like the dumbest guy ever. Oh my god! So that happened this week. I mean, that's been taking up all my headspace. That's been just living rent free in my mind.
Living rent free. Very Zoomer phrase.
I can't unthink it now. So I just wanted to share that with you, and that's out now. Oh god, that's out of my head.
All right, do you guys want a poem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck me.
This is from Greg. Hi, Pyrian, long-time listener.
Sips doesn't sound excited.
Well, he will be. I have been playing around with OpenAI's ChatGPT and thought the following would be good to share. I entered the following prompt: write a poem about three friends, Sips, Lewis, and P-Flax, and their podcast, the Triforce Podcast. Sips has another issue with his bar plug. Lewis struggling to get another personal trainer, and Pyrian is busy answering the bloody door. ChatGPT came up with the following. Three friends, Sips, Lewis, and P-Flax, come together to bring us the Triforce Podcast. Sips, with his bath plug, causing distress. Lewis, struggling to find a personal trainer, no less. P-Flax, busy answering the bleeding door. Together they bring us laughter and more. Their podcast a treasure to explore. From gaming news and all in between, the Triforce Podcast is a joy to be seen. So tune in, give it a listen. You won't be disappointed. We're sure you'll glisten. With witty banter and hilarious jokes, the Triforce Podcast will have you in fits of giggles and strokes. So join Sips, Lewis, and P-Flax for a podcast that will surely relax. That's the fucking poem.
Oh my god.
AI's come so far, hasn't it?
The tone of that is very weird, isn't it?
Dog shit.
With the strokes and the relapse. It's kind of quite dark. I quite like it.
It's the glistening. It says with
the glisten. I know. Like, what does that mean? It's
glistening and stroking.
Slightly gross.
It's very sexual, I'd say. So very
it's kind of disgusting.
There is one more email. I don't know if you guys want to hear it. It is let's do it. Quite a long one, so I think we could finish on that. It is a guy ranting about the game of checkers. And how people don't take it seriously. I think we may have chucked in some jokes about checkers in episodes from the past, but anyway. Hello, Pyrian, Lewis, and Sips. This is a question I've had a lot, because a lot of nerds who love chess find it easy to shit on checkers, claiming it's an easier game, and they end up rubbing their noses at it. This pisses me off, because the reasons they give are, to be frank, not good reason, and betrays their perceived higher intelligence for their chess playing. This lad is off on a group of people who I don't think exist. I don't think anybody hates checkers. It just exists. Nobody cares. One of the reasons for saying that checkers is a far simpler and easier game is because, unlike chess, checkers is a solved game, which means the outcome of the game can be guaranteed from any position on the board, assuming both sides make perfect plays.
So checkers is like Connect Four or Noughts and Crosses. It's computers. You can play it perfectly and force a draw. So it's a game where you cannot lose, basically.
The arduous path to solving checkers is a story unto itself, but suffice it to say, it took a lot of very powerful computers almost 20 years to solve it, as the possibilities in checkers are 5 times 10 to the power of 20. From a computer's perspective, chess is a far more complicated game to solve.
But hang on a second, though. Right. He's saying it was difficult to solve 20 years ago.
Right. It was easy to solve
now. You can probably solve it on your phone.
Right, exactly.
So carry on.
Chess is a far more complicated game to solve, but people are not computers. Having two people play checkers against each other can require an incredible amount of skill in reading the other's moves and seeing potential plans.
Yeah, he's not wrong. As much as even like tic-tac-toe is solved, right? And I am even nowadays, it's probably like it'd probably take me 5 minutes to learn optimal tic-tac-toe strategy and never lose a game again. But I'm not going to bother. Do you know what I mean?
Even if the game is solved by a computer, it does not mean the human can ever learn every single play in checkers. No one is saying that, AJ. No one is saying that human beings, because checkers has been solved, that means it's redundant. Okay, no one is saying that. From a functional standpoint, there isn't much difference unless we get people shoving cheating devices up their arse during tournaments. I can't believe there are checkers tournaments, first of all. The most famous and well-regarded checkers player and mathematician, Marion Tinsley, famously played a match, and after seeing the opponent play a piece, said, "You're going to regret that," and of course won. They later found out the only way Tinsley would be able to know his win was guaranteed at that point was to see roughly 64 moves ahead in the game.
Wow.
Another reason some people give to say that checkers is more of a kid's game is that the rules are simple. I don't see how that has anything to do with the difficulty of a game, as there are plenty of games with simple rules that are incredibly challenging, such as Go. A big problem with checkers' perception is that people don't have the highest opinion of it, there aren't as many people playing it, and really not many people playing it at a high level. But I'm just ranting, because I feel like a lot of chess people are super pretentious, and it's just a little annoying to interact with them, to be honest, and I don't know how to reach them.
Matt, what's his name, this guy? I'm actually converted. AJ, I'm converted. Your message made me realise that we shouldn't be judgmental about checkers. I definitely looked down at it. I've looked down at it before as I think it's because it's played on the same board, right? That's why chess people.
Right. I was just thinking
that. I think also, you've got to understand a lot of these very high-level chess players, even, throughout history, especially Bobby, what's his face?
Fischer.
Fischer.
Bobby, what's his
kind
face?
of wanted to play different versions of chess, right? He would modify chess to be different pieces, different spaces, different things, different ways of playing.
Starting pieces, yeah.
Yeah, and so, checkers is really only a modification, I guess, of that. Checkers, you could imagine it as a series of sort of semi-bishops, right? Do you know what I mean? So it's, I guess you should look at checkers as a version of chess that is simplified, but it is played by humans. And I guess, like any game, if you're willing to, any board game, I wonder whether, I think a lot of the board games that we play are also probably solved. I wonder if Monopoly and Risk and, a lot of these other games are, inverted commas, solved. Or
I don't think they are, because there's elements of chance in those games.
Right.
Which
I see
is
the
going to
dice
be hard,
rolls and
isn't
stuff.
it? There is certainly an optimal strategy for Monopoly, but it's entirely dependent on dice rolls, essentially. But what you're doing is playing the odds.
But I wonder whether, even given the chance element, is that simpler to learn than checkers strategy, right?
It's very simple rules. There are certain bands of property that are the best to get on a Monopoly board. There are YouTube videos I've watched on this, and you can just look them up. There are first of all, every time you learn something, buy it. And secondly, you really want to get certain sets. But the issue with Monopoly is it kind of requires your opponents to play suboptimally for your optimal strategy to work, because you're not going to, unless you get very lucky, you're not going to get a full set. You're going to have to trade with people. And if they trade suboptimally, then that's not a strategy to rely on.
No.
Because if you had the best Monopoly players in the world playing, none of them would trade.
Yeah, but you got to make them desperate, though, right?
Yeah, but then, it literally would take 12 hours of just going around and somehow hoping people go broke enough that you can buy their shit.
Yeah.
Because I know that what's meant to happen is when you have to mortgage a property, there are certain house rules you can have where at that point it goes up for auction and shit like that if you can't pay your debts.
Yeah, you got to mortgage everything, and then when you do fully run out of money and you have no other options, you're out of the game, and then all of your cards are returned, right?
It goes up for auction, I think. Either way, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, I think because of the element of risk and playing against multiple other opponents, it's not possible to solve it so much as it is to have an optimal strategy, and then you have to hope you get a little bit of luck. Whereas with chess, there are computers out there that are unbeatable because they see till the end of time. The tree for all the possible moves is so huge that they see that they make these moves that are impossible. The accuracy of them is so high. That's why people were suspicious of Neiman, because he made 6 or 7 not just good moves in a row, but the perfect move multiple times in a row, far outside what he normally achieves.
Yeah,
I think
you can look at these things mathematically. It's the same way we knew that Dream was cheating in Minecraft or using a mod that he didn't realize was on, or whatever the excuse he gave at the end. But it's the thing with I guess my thing is I play a lot of board games, right? I play a lot of random board games with friends and
cheat.
I also play a lot of strategy games with friends.
You're familiar with cheating.
Famous cheater.
Well, I'm not a big cheater. I suppose I used to cheat in things like Minecraft or Fallout or games where you are something single player. I don't mind cheating in single player if I can justify the karma in my mind, right? If the game's broken or something's not working, or I have to grind up 2,000 wood or something incredibly tedious, I'd rather just cheat that in and be like, yeah, okay, just pretend I did this. You know, if I'm like basically just having to do some tedious job, like when I was a kid, I would when I had a newspaper round, I would have to pack the newspapers full of the fucking leaflets, and I'd like do that in front of telly for like 3 hours. You know, doing that sort of stuff in video games, if I can avoid it by cheating, I usually will do, or I'll make a macro or something, and that's a lot of people would consider that cheating as well. Like anything repetitive, I almost will refuse. I find it fun though to find a way to cheat, right? To find a way to macro tedious tasks, but that's by the by. I think I play a lot of boys. Like I'm playing a game with Twilight Imperium tomorrow, which is this huge day long.
Yeah. The one that you said
slog.
you didn't want to play with me when I was coming down. You don't want to play games with me.
People.
Yeah,
I couldn't get.
That's what it is. You don't want to play
you didn't
games
come
with
down
me.
in the end.
I didn't.
He was glad that you didn't, because he didn't want to play Twilight Imperium with you anyway.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome to join us for the next one. But yeah, it's a long day, and I'm sure
that didn't seem sincere.
I wonder how complicated a game needs. You know, I just wonder where Checkers sits on that actual level of complexity. Right?
It's very low.
But I think it's about perspective though too, right? Like Checkers, I think you sit there and you think, "Fuck, this is actually very, very complicated, very, very quickly." At least with chess, I do. Whereas with a board game, your board games are designed, and video games too, for simple decisions that don't feel overwhelming, because otherwise they're not really very fun, right? So humans are quite good at picking between 2 options or 3 options, but as soon as they're given like 8 options or 9 options, like in chess, you're like very overwhelmed suddenly on like what you can keep in your mind, right?
Right.
I think oftentimes most board games provide, or at least try and keep good ones that I keep coming back to, keep having simple choices that they have maybe as much complexity as the other games, but they don't feel like they do. So it feels like the choices you're making are more fun than serious. Like I think playing checkers can very quickly go quite serious, right? And also that's an element of playing with one person and playing with 4 people. When I'm playing with one person, I definitely feel very competitive. Whereas as soon as I've got 4 people around the table, I'm just playing for fun.
Right.
And it's weird that strategy and competitiveness sort of changes based on that sort of stuff, right? Like our perception of it. Anyway, sorry, I've ranted and I've gone down a weird path as usual. Please write me a letter.
That's what we love
about board games and design. I want to hear what people think.
Yeah, any checker haters out there, let us know what you think.
Any pro tic-tac-toers out there, toe lads?
Any tiddlywinkers out there, let us know.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
This last bit will definitely bring some emails. I can guarantee it. It's the exact sort of subject people email in about. Actually, checkers is incredibly high level, and you're a fool for not understanding it. I challenge you to a checkers off. Like, well, I'm sure you'd win, but it still doesn't mean it's a good game. I think it's a dog shit game. Sorry, checkers guy.
Yeah, I think you should try Dune Imperium.
Yeah, that sounds a good one. Yeah.
Check that out. There's like a whole the thing is that board game has become so popular in the tabletop sim Discord that they've had to make their own section for it. Because it was just only Dune Imperium games being requested in the looking for group. I haven't got a physical copy, but I played it about 20 times online.
Well, we should get it and play it. I love Dune.
I'll teach you. It's a great game. Honestly,
I don't want to play on TTT. It's so fucking tedious.
TTS. No, we'll play it on. We'll play it physically.
Yeah,
all right, I'll get a copy.
All right.
Fine. It's a date.
Fine.
Yeah.
Let's do
Another
it.
good one that we played one time was that Terraforming Mars was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, that's a fun game.
That, yeah.
That's a fun game. I've played a lot of that now. I'm still terrible at it, but I have played a lot of it. I play against the computer a lot, and it always beats me by like 4 or 5 points. It's very frustrating.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we call it a day there on Mailbag episode number 578?
This was a cracker. I can see why people prefer the Mailbag.
That was a really good one. That was nice.
This was a great one.
I only got called out about Wisconsin one time.
Just one time this week.
Keep sending in your interesting stuff that you're up to in your life.
If you're
like
from
little
Wisconsin
stories, little things
and you have a bone to pick away. Let's hear some nice things about Wisconsin. Let's turn the negative into a positive. Let's turn the frown upside down.
Let's see if we can get in touch with like the tourism. I want the tourism board of Wisconsin to get in touch.
Oh, right.
And defend their state. Let's hear it. Let's hear it from Wisconsin officials, not just plebs that live in Wisconsin. I want the king of Wisconsin to come at us. Official.
The king.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what they do over there.
Yeah. That sounds right. He'll be like the Dairy King or something.
Yeah,
Dairy
exactly.
Queen.
Dairy King.
Yeah.
Queen. Yeah.
All right. Take it easy.
Bye.
Love
We
you.
shall see you next time. Keep the mails coming.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.